once again to the mood of the nation. The India Today poll being done for India Today magazine along with Karvy, which is bringing you the first big opinion poll since, of course, the general election victory of the BJP and Mr. Modi in 2019 May.
In this 1 hour, we will look very closely at the perception around the state of the economy. I'm saying perception because this is asking people across the country what they think about the Modi government's economic policies, its record on job creation, that $5 trillion target, and whether voters believe the Indian government will be able to get us there. But I want to show you what the overall mood of the nation is in case you missed our broadcast so far. Take a look first at the vote share numbers. The NDA is expected to bag 45% of the vote if elections are held today. This is exactly the vote share that they picked up in May 2019 when elections happened. The UPA is expected to pick up 28% of the vote share. So the NDA largely holding on to its gains from May 2019, and the UPA also being the only difference, of course, is now you've got Sonia Gandhi's image there instead of that of Rahul Gandhi, but the UPA also largely where it was. The BJP is expected to bag 308 seats, the NDA expected to bag 357 seats if elections were held. So the BJP picked up 303 in 2019 May. That's expected to go up by 5 if elections were held today. The UPA is at 92. The Congress's tally could potentially come down to 49 as opposed to 52. So some setback to the Congress and the UPA, some gains to the BJP and the NDA, but given that they're already at such a high, it's very difficult to rise above that.
That's right. It is, as the cover story of India Today is calling it, an election at the moment, or a mood of the nation that reflects Modi's style. Modi larger than life. Well, we've discussed much about Mr. Modi's positives. Now we are going to look, and Rahul will look at those numbers in a moment, at the economy, which for many is the real concern. We are joined by special guest Rajiv Dubey, managing editor at Business Today and at India Today, joins us. He's going to give us his perspective. Ajit Jha still with us, Rahul Srivastav, Raj Chengappa, Dr. Chanana from Karvy is with us, Rajiv Desai. I'm also joined by Ashok Malik, till recently press secretary with the president, and Ashutosh, formerly of the Aam Aadmi Party, now back to his original calling, journalism, and GVL Narasimha Rao, who made the switch from psephology to becoming a BJP MP and spokesperson. And we are joined by Santosh Mehrotra, Dr. Santosh Mehrotra, economist with JNU. But let's look, Rahul, at those numbers, because I think in the last few months, the economy hasn't got the kind of attention it should have in mainstream media.
But you know, these results are actually the most surprising part of this survey. And the reason I say this, and you'll see this over the next few minutes, is that people's perception around the economy seems to be at variance with the actual state of the Indian economy. I'll take first the question around the budget being a credible plan towards the $5 trillion goal. When respondents were asked this question, 66% of the respondents in the India Today Mood of the Nation opinion poll said that they believe that the budget presented a credible plan to get us towards a $5 trillion economy. 25% said no, 9% said they can't say. Can India become a $5 trillion economy in 5 years? We asked them. 70% said yes, 17% said no, 13% said they can't say. What's been your economic status since 2014? Are things getting better? Are they getting worse? Almost half the respondents told us that their economic status is improving. 45% saying things have got better, 31% saying things have got worse, 21% say they are the same. The economic performance of the Modi Sarkar, do people like that? 60% say the performance of the government has been better than that of the Congress. 22% say on the economy the performance is worse than that of the Congress. 11% say it's the same as the Congress. This, Rajdeep, is very intriguing because if you look at the raw data which tells you manufacturing output, when you look actually at how the automobile sector is doing, job creation, it's a royal mess. People seem to say, balle balle, everything's great.
Modi is enjoying the second honeymoon of her life. Most of us struggle to get one honeymoon in our lives. Modi is enjoying
the
two.
first one never finished. It's the longest honeymoon of all time.
It's the longest honeymoon, you know, and this is where this is where the dream comes in. Modi is a great dream merchant, and he sold the dream of $5 trillion economy And people are willing to give him a chance because they trust Modi. It's the trust factor.
But Rajdeep, it has to be more. We have
It's
to
the
get
trust
deep.
factor.
No, sir.
People are
Sir,
trusting
on
Mr. Modi.
Pakistan, I particularly, beyond a point, if I'm a typical voter, don't care. But if you ask me, is my economic status, Ashok Malik, getting better? And 45% say yes. You can't lie about that.
There are two things here. It's not just a dream merchant. Are there problems on the economy? Of course there are, to be sure, absolutely. But there are two things on which Modi has delivered so far. And we have to see what he does going ahead. Number one, inflation. Huge issue in 10 years for a variety of reasons, some domestic, some foreign. Inflation has been under control. Prices have been under control.
A lot to do with international factors and the fact that when you look at previous inflation numbers, crude price was running
some
away.
Of it is international, the oil prices, but some of it, including pulses and food prices, is also local, okay, including his agricultural policies. Second, in terms of delivery on the ground for rural roads, housing, amenities at home, this is a one-time benefit, I agree. You can't win successive elections with this. But people have seen tangible changes.
So, either Rajiv Dubey, you are living in a different universe to where... No problem because, as someone who tracks the economy, every day I meet you in the office, you say things are looking bad. And they're going to get worse. We don't know, where the bottom lies. That's not what the mood of the nation is. The mood of the nation is saying, don't worry, be happy. So is there something wrong with you or with the nation?
I'm not the only one who's saying that. It is the government's own numbers that are saying this. Right. The last quarter, we know the numbers were 5.8. We know this quarter numbers are worse because we've already seen what has happened in auto. We know what is happening in consumer durables. We know what is happening in
and these are government
FMCG.
numbers. They could even be worse.
Absolutely. So we, the economy is decelerating, continues to decelerate, and the fact that we don't know what the bottom is a reality. It's the government's numbers that are telling us that the economy is still decelerating. The question is, when will it turn around? When do we see an uptick? We don't know.
But
why does the government have any clue?
The question is, Raj Chendappa, why are the people surveyed? Either Karvy's got it horribly wrong and they were, in a way only going to Modi supporters, which they haven't. Or the truth is, as Ashok suggests, that people out there are more than willing to give Mr. Modi a chance.
I think it's a combination. One, certainly what you had mentioned earlier, there is a trust in Mr. Modi, though things are bad. And if you look at it, disaggregate the questions, you will find that jobs continues to dominate. Corruption is a concern with this. And also, by the way, inflation. They still, despite being the lowest, people are never happy with the fact that prices keep going a little bit here or there. So there are these three big concerns. And what you're seeing is the confidence levels in Mr. Modi to deliver. That confidence levels could diminish pretty rapidly if as Rajiv says, it goes down. The other point is when you look at, disaggregate further, they agree with the 5 trillion dream that Mr. Modi has to deliver by 2024-25,
yes,
but say there has to be radical reform. Now the point, if you ask economists and others, is what they have done in the second term, is that sufficient enough to kick the economy beyond 5.8%, because to do that, they have to achieve at least 7% growth average in the next 4 to 5 years. Will they do that?
Rajiv Desai, when I look at these numbers, the Prime Minister could well turn around and say, look, the professional pessimists have got it wrong yet again. Nirmala Sitharaman will look at these numbers and smile, say, I told you so. And it's only though the naysayers, like the Rajiv Desais of the world, who are predicting doomsday scenarios. The reality, people don't seem to be too concerned. The economy is not driven by markets and foreign investors, or indeed even domestic investors.
Then what is it driven by?
It's driven by people believe that their basic lives, they're okay. They're not so bad. Inflation is down. They're getting the benefits of rural roads, of infrastructure. They're okay with their lives.
Well, actually, the fact of the matter is it's not a matter of opinion, as Mr. Dubey has pointed out. It's a fact that the economy is sinking. It's a fact that people are jobless. And it's a fact that it's going to be get more and more challenging as time goes by. And the complaint is that nobody seems to have a plan for it. All they have is a propaganda item to address the issue. No specific policies to deal with the auto sector. No specific policy.
Interesting observation in this number is that when you talk of what do you think of the economic performance of the BJP government, the last time it was at 60 was January of 2017.
Just after demo.
Right after months after demo. So that was a time when everybody was happy that the rich were being were being harmed or were being. So is it some kind of visceral pleasure that that this is showing?
But it's not. Can I make one point which I think is very illustrative, which is when you ask people, has your own economic status changed for the better, and half say yes, which means people think, Dikshit, that their lives are getting better. You can't get them to lie about that. They like the rich being taxed, they like the rich being sent to jail, that is a different matter. They won't say that their lives are getting better if they're not.
And your poll went across a cross-section, right?
No,
did you sense among the more affluent classes a concern over the economy and much greater support among the lower income groups? What did you sense?
So when we talk about economic status, it also talk about your homes.
Yes.
The lower segment of people are getting homes under the Prime Minister Awas Yojana. It's also talk about Ujjwala scheme, gas cylinders. It's also talk about the better electricity. So overall, there is a sense that our status in the life status is improving.
So this is, sometimes.
So they do not have these numbers of autos.
Again to January 17. January 17, 53% people said that their status was better. So are we now saying that their status has worsened from 53 to 45% now saying, this is really that 53% in January 17 was a very significant.
It was an inflection point. But my point,
can I talk about that?
I come back to this, Professor Mehrotra. Are the professional pessimists not recognizing what Mr. Modi says is the real state of the economy, that don't judge the economy by what's happening in the markets, how foreign investors feel, judge it by how the Aam Aadmi feels at the bottom of the pyramid. Those who are getting the benefits of schemes, government schemes like Ujjwala.
Well, first of all, I'm not a professional pessimist at all. I think there is hope for the Indian economy, but the more important point really, Rajdeep, is the following, that you are doing this survey literally within 2 months of the results of an election in which the government has won an overwhelming majority. So it's not as though suddenly the mood of the nation and the mood of the people is going to change. So that's all that's happening. As far as the budget, getting 66% people feeling that it's credible, how many people really genuinely understand the budget? The fact of the matter is that, people don't know and don't understand, and many professional economists also haven't fully grasped it, that there is a silent fiscal crisis. That the GST takings have been 1 lakh crore less than what it was anticipated. You see, so, perceptions may be fine. After all, perceptions were exactly what led to the result that we got. So, the fact of the matter is that if inflation is low, inflation is partly low because oil prices fell, but more importantly, inflation is low because wages are not rising. For the last 6 years, we've done this. I've estimated this. Rural wages in real terms have been flat. Urban wages in real terms have been flat. Corporate salaries have remained flat. They have not increased. If demand itself is compressed, then why would inflation be high?
Let's get GVL Narasimha Rao to respond to that. There is an apparent disconnect between the jubilant mood around the economy in the India Today mood of the nation data and the mood out in the street, whether it's Dalal Street or you look at any of the output data that the government's putting out. At every index we can see the state of the economy is going down. In the India Today mood of the nation, people think the economy is doing really well.
No, Rahul, the problem is every pessimist, professional pessimist as Rajdeep calls them, I think sees data from a particular prism. They want to present what they see in isolation. This is like several blind men trying to really understand what the shape of an animal is by blindfolding themselves.
So the auto sector is down 30%. This doesn't require eyesight to say that. The real estate sector is down. The stock markets are down. Private investment is at historic lows. Growth is coming down. It was 5.8% in the first 3 months of this year. It will be down even further. This is a reality. It's not about professional pessimists. This is a reality about the state of the economy, Mr. Narasimha Rao.
But this is it's also a world reality. Are we not the 6th largest country?
No, now we're 7.
The 11th largest
we were 5, now we're down to 7.
14. Have we not really, in terms of overall standing? Are we not the, no, but we will certainly soon become 5th largest. And Indian economy doesn't become a bright spot in the world in the Committee of Nations if we are not performing well.
Can I just stop you for a moment?
Of concern,
can I just stop you for a moment, Mr. Rao, because you're giving us the glass half full. You know, you seem to suggest the glass is actually 3/4 full. But there are, you know...
No, which part of the economic glass is half full right now?
The problem is the government... Look, my concern is, and Rahul Srivastav, you track the finance ministry. You tell us, is the government in denial on this economic question? If an India Today magazine cover, for example, shows 2.3 lakh jobs have been lost in the auto sector, as Rahul said, the month of July has seen the sharpest dip. Is the government aware of this? Is the government not concerned about this? Or is there a sense that the Narasimha Rao, GVL Narasimha Raos are right, saying you are only looking at part of the economy, looking at only what suits you?
Rajdip, I will not say that there is no awareness about it. Nirmala Sitharaman has been meeting stakeholders from various sectors. The Prime Minister in 2 interviews has talked about certain elements, about the challenges, but there is a point where that seems to be indicating that there will be a takeoff stage from where things will start changing.
No, so let me ask
what is happening when, what are these elements one doesn't see? They talk about 100 lakh crore worth of investment will change things, because that's where the only money is going to come from, because private sector is not investing. But when that will start rolling in, because right now we are hearing that the government revenues are down. So when will that takeoff stage come in?
So let's ask this question. I'll put it to Ashok Malik. If you can give a reasoned response, which part of the economy in your view is doing well? Look, which part of the economy is doing well?
Look, I don't want to go into that. It is fairly clear that there is a demand problem in the economy, there is a certain confidence problem coming in, and there is a liquidity problem. Okay, these cannot be fixed. Now, I recognize this
problem, Ashok, sorry, are those the problem, or is this a Prime Minister at the end of the day who fundamentally distrusts private industry? You know, let's be fair. You know, we've gone through this program targeting the Congress. The fact is, Manmohan Singh worked closely with industry. This Prime Minister doesn't involve industry in any decision making.
I think this Prime Minister has... Just one sec, please. I have
yes.
This Prime Minister has gone after crony capitalism, what he calls phone banking.
Really?
Could I finish? Yeah. Yes. He has gone after them, which is why a lot of the promoters who owed money and were not paying back are being forced to squeeze out money right now. Okay. This is not to say this Prime Minister does not trust legitimate private industry. Of course he does. But these problems are genuine. What the 3 problems I'm talking about? Of demand, of confidence and of liquidity.
No, but let me ask that question then to GVL Narasimha Rao. Which part of the economy, sir, is doing well?
No, are you saying that without any part of the economy doing well, we are still growing at 6.5%, 7%?
It's a very simple question. Which sector of the economy, please back it with some data, is doing really well, sir?
Certainly, service. No, service sector. No, let me tell you, service sector is doing quite well. And only the manufacturing sector, we have had certain difficulties. And that certainly, one was a lack of credit, affordable credit. And now that you have had successive rate cuts, certainly we hope this will pick up. Because you cannot, you have to only create conducive conditions for the industry to invest.
You know what you hope about, we leave aside for the time being. I'm asking you a very straight, direct question. Even if you say services, please name within services the particular type of service that you think is doing well. It's a very simple question, sir.
No, overall service sector is doing very well. And that is
okay, I'm going to get Rajiv Dubey to respond. First, let him speak telecom.
You take telecom. Look at the losses in telecom. You take banking. Look at the losses in banking. You know, the problem that I see is that the government is trying to put the cart before the horse. To assume that private investment will come before consumption kicks off is like living in a dream world. It's never going to happen.
No, Rajiv Dubey, respond to GVL. Do you believe there are elements in the service sector that are doing well?
No, telecom. It's in terrible shape. Look at financial services. Look at banking. I mean,
can I just ask this question, which is often not asked? Is it true that 2016, the inflection point which gave Mr. Modi the big bump in our mood of the nation in January 2017, demonetization, came at the wrong time, hit the economy? We are now 3 years later. We've seen the global headwinds are no longer with us. You are now faced with, difficulties on the global front, and domestically, what you did in 2016 is starting to hit you all these years. That's what business keeps telling me, that we are still suffering from what happened in November. So I'm just wondering, well, just a minute. Mr. Modi got his politics right, Ajit Jha. He got the elections right, but the economy has never been, you know, he was lucky in his first 3 years. Luck has run out.
Actually,
now
I
he's got to work at it.
In fact, I would argue the other way around, Rajdeep. If you look at agriculture, where 70% of our voters are sitting right there, between 2014 and 2016, you had negative growth rate in agriculture. Today, agriculture is not bouncing up, but the average is 2.9. It used to be minus 1.2 in the first year. Second year was 1.2. So I'm not saying agriculture is great, but agriculture has improved. And especially, once again, and also programs like PM Kisan.
They haven't
PM Kisan has put in a lot of money into agriculture. PM Kisan and the various other Prime Minister. Once again, let me just finish. Let me finish. 1.5 crore houses for the rural poor. People who have got houses for the first time in their life, for them the economy is doing great.
That's a different thing. But Ajit, in the month of Jan March, agriculture is growing 0.1%.
At the same time, but when you ask question, Rahul, it's a subjective perception.
Okay, let me pose this to Professor Mehrotra. You know, Professor Mehrotra, we say the Prime Minister hasn't kick-started enough reform. However, there's the Labour Code that's come in, and many believe that a lot of the reform must start with Labour. If you remember, in his first term, he tried it with land, didn't quite work. There was a backlash. This time, he's trying to get everyone together on Labour. The government is committing to disinvestment targets. Do you see that Mr. Modi in this second term is going to focus more in the next 6 months, perhaps, or next 12 months on the economy? Is that going to have to become priority? Not what's happening in Kashmir necessarily, but what's happening on the economy. Do you see that happening now? Do you see a shift?
Well, I hope so. There is no choice in the matter, honestly, because there's not just a cyclical downturn here. I think there is a structural crisis. Now, someone was talking about, I don't know who it was because I can't see everyone. Someone was saying that agriculture has bounced back after 2 drought years in 14 and 15. Yes, it is true that it bounced. It was beginning to bounce back in 2016, but that's when demonetization came. So the point about agriculture improving in the last 2 years of the 5-year term of the government is simply a base effect. You know, the average growth rate of agriculture over the entire 5-year period was only 2.7%. And if agriculture was not in such great distress, I don't think the Prime Minister would have needed to pump in 50,000 crores, which was the only increase in the agriculture budget that took place in the budget for 1920 for PM Kisan. The PM Kisan is entirely a response to the crisis in agriculture. So, you know, there's precious little demand being generated from agriculture. And one of the reasons why consumer demand is so compressed is precisely because agriculture has not been doing very well at all. And I agree with you, Rajdeep, that there is just no question about it. And I began by telling the silent fiscal crisis requires the government to actually sell assets, to monetize the land that it is holding. On the labor reforms, I think it's a good start. We are hoping that, you know, these things will go through, but, you know, there are real issues between government and the trade unions on the content of the labor laws themselves. The new
I spoke to really senior officials in the Modi government, and I asked them the same question, that why are multiple sectors of the economy doing as badly as they are? Nobody's presented that so far, but since they haven't, I will lay it out and then we'll get the panel to respond to it. They said that there is a problem with the way India Inc. was used to functioning. They were used to their loans getting evergreen, they were used to making calls, banks just giving them another loan. That's an old style of functioning. Ashok Malik, the government's best defense really in this case is that we have changed that chalta hai attitude where industrialists could bully bankers, get their loans evergreen, which is why there's a structural shift taking place in how the economy operates. We are changing and re-engineering the DNA of the economy. This is the government's best defense, frankly.
While that may be true, and that is true, I think that attempt is being made. The fact is, it's been going on for almost 6 years now. So the tunnel needs a light at the end of it.
So you see, but since Rahul is talking to the government official, let me tell you what the industry is saying. Industry is saying the bureaucrats are telling us how to run industry. People who've never run a company in their lives, who've been joint secretaries in the Department of Animal Husbandry, suddenly come into the Department of Industry and tell us
No, but it's always been like that.
No, but the difference is Dr. Manmohan Singh, who we've attacked, right? I mean, we've attacked the Congress. He had a team. Let's be fair to them. He had a team that worked closely with industry. Now we have a team, which is the committee on which you've got industry fully involved. Who are the MSMEs? I just wonder whether I come back to it. Rajiv, correct me if I'm wrong. The mood in industry that I sense is that this government believes hum sab chor hai. The first thing that a bureaucrat tells me, look at the tax terrorism that's being practiced in the name. It is. There is tax terrorism. You see,
Some of the most.
When he says that only 15 people are close to Modi.
No,
Forget
I mean, why do you
Rahul Gandhi for a
It is a
moment.
general
The
political
fact of the
belief that
matter is
Sarah
I am a
that
micro,
some of the biggest industrialists in India
Forget the
have
big
come out
industry.
and said about tax terrorism, whether it's in the south, whether it's Mohandas Pai, whether it's Crenshaw, all these people have actually tweeted and
let
talked
me ask
about it.
Rajiv, is it big
for
industries?
the
No,
industry,
1 minute.
for
Is
the-
this a problem of big industry or MSMEs as well? When I hear from MSMEs, they also don't seem to believe that things are buoyant at the moment. They are the ones who have to drive this economy. What will an auto component small person look at today when he sees these numbers?
MSMEs were the worst hit by demonetization.
That's my point.
MSMEs have been the worst hit and they have yet to recover. It is a fact that the industry thinks that the government is not consulting it enough. That the government, when
At
it
all
goes,
levels.
at all levels, including when they go and when the government does intergovernment deals, intergovernment discussions, that the industry's voice is not being heard is a fact. That's the voice that the industry has as of today. They are concerned about the fact that their voice is not being heard and their concerns are not being heard.
But the flip side, Ashutosh, look at the numbers, and we have to go by the numbers. When we ask people about the question of comparing, they say economic performance of NDA government better than Congress is 60%. So, for all the talk, at the end of the day, people do a comparison, and there the inflation point comes. They believe that, look, things are not so bad. The average Indian.
Rajiv, the three points. The last days of UPA 2012 and Modi 1 and 2. So, Rajiv, 3 points which I want to make, a very quick 3 points. First point is, I think the problem which the Congress is suffering in politics and the Modi government is suffering in economics, because they don't know whether to go to the market way or to go to the state, to the welfare. So, they are confused in a way. Secondly,
Modi is very clear welfareism. Let's be honest, Mr. Modi is very clear. It's
No,
all
but
about
Rajdeep, that's
welfare.
unfair. No, I'm sorry. At the
second point.
highest levels in
Rajdeep,
government,
second point.
they
so
know
far
that
it's track
welfareism
record.
is not the
They
They realize that trying to encourage private investment is the only way forward.
See, Rajdeep,
Rahul, I'm just looking at the past 6 years. Why has the
second
fiscal
point.
crisis slowly crept upon us? Because there was a time, and this is the February budget that you put up. Nirmala Sitharaman is being blamed today. The fact is the February budget made all kinds of announcements without having the monies in place.
But Rajdeep,
That's the
second
reality.
point which I wanted to make it, where is Amit Shah in his economics? Where is Amit Shah? They have somebody who doesn't understand economics, budget and everything. Manmohan Singh government was led by Manmohan Singh himself. There was the P. Chidambaram, there was Montek Ahluwalia, there's a bright economist. Now, where is the economy?
Ashok Malik, you were in government till recently. Would you concede that this government suffers from an acute lack of genuine economic talent? And when they do find the talent, they can't deal with that talent because talent has a mind of its own, and they have a problem in dealing with people who speak their mind.
I think that's a sweeping statement.
I'm
There's
asking
been
you a
talent which this government has not been able to work with. There's been talent this government has worked with. So that's not quite fair. But yes, the government has been caught between trying to clean up the economy, going after tax evasion, and there's been, I guess, a bit of an overkill in both these areas.
But you levy tax on somebody not completing his CSR responsibilities.
I think the desire to go after bad people who will take loans and don't pay back has ended up to some degree also spooking bankers into not giving loans.
No, but Ashok, when you do on CSR, for example, if I don't meet my CSR targets, I will be imprisoned.
I'm hoping there will be a course correction
I just have a point to
Yes,
make. I think while the government has been very clear in terms of the agenda, it has to do in terms of the BJP and RSS agenda, whether it is Article 370, Ayodhya, or the Uniform Civil Code, they had a plan. What they didn't seem to have, and is in terms of the economy. Mr. Modi has a vision of a 5 trillion economy, which everyone says
that's going to
has to be
happen
done.
anyway.
No, has to be done, right? No one is arguing. It's like saying providing water or toilets to people. The point is how you're going to get there. Now, take a look at agriculture. They have continued the policy of being focusing on production, when actually the farmer wants income. There has to be an income revolution. To have that income revolution, you have to do a whole series of things to be done. Then take a look at the other sectors, whether it is manufacturing is down, service sectors. You have to have a plan and let everybody talks about the animal spirits. You have to free those spirits.
May I say something,
I
please?
just want to add one point. I think this confusion about economic, which model has to be followed, is a fundamental problem with the RSS. On the issue of nationalism, Hindutva, they are very clear. This is what I have to do. But you say, you take the example of Swadeshi Jagran Manch. What is their economic policy? Whether they want to take economy to the Gandhian way, or to the Lohiya way, or to the socialist way, or a communist way, where is the rightist economic model with the RSS and the BJP? There is no rightist economic model. It's unfortunately, they call themselves rightists.
Let's be fair.
Rightism means what?
Mr. Modi, even in Gujarat, went by a public-private investment
wait,
partnership model.
let me.
He was not Margaret Thatcher, as some people might have hoped on the extreme right. Mr. Modi, at the end of the day, wants to win elections. He is not here. Look, see what happened between 2014-15. He tried land acquisition. He was pulled back. He was attacked for being a suit boot ki sarkar. He said, okay, you're calling me a suit boot ki sarkar. I'll show you what welfareism politics is. And it's worked. From a political point of view, it's worked. Whether it's worked, I think the numbers are now catching up, Rahul, with him somewhere. Because between 2016 and 18 or 19, the amount of money that he put in various schemes, now the revenues are not being generated. That's the trap in which
there's
he finds
only
himself.
one way. There's only one way to revive the economy. Let me say something.
Which part of the economy is of greatest concern to voters? We look at that when we come back with the next part of the India Today Mood of the Nation opinion poll. Stay with us. We're back on the other side.